Doc's in with us, or just stepped out for a
What
minute.
happened?
Think about the last time you were really, truly excited for something. Maybe it was a new job, a trip, or just a big win you'd been working toward for years. For Betsy Swain, that one was absolutely huge. We're talking about an offer from the London College of Fashion. This wasn't just some local school. It's one of the most respected fashion institutions in the entire world. She was finally going to get away from the drama of the cobbles and start a life that was all hers. But then, in a split second, everything changed. One minute she's asking Dylan for cooking tips, trying to make a bolognese after a failed breakfast attempt, and the next, she's unresponsive on the kitchen floor. Ryan finds her there, and it is a total, terrifying nightmare for everyone involved. And what's really scary is that this isn't just a faint or a bit of exhaustion. It's a stroke. A teenage stroke. Have you ever wondered how someone so young could go through something so heavy? It feels like her body just gave up under the pressure of the life she's been leading. Well, think about it for a second. Betsy hasn't exactly had a quiet time since she arrived in Weatherfield. She didn't just walk onto the street. She stormed it and immediately started playing high-stakes games. Remember when she blackmailed Carla Connor? She witnessed a road incident involving a cyclist and decided to use it as leverage against a powerful CEO. That is a bold, dangerous move for a teenager. Then she got pulled into a counterfeit clothing scheme at Underworld with Beth Tinker. She was living this intense adult life, juggling scandals and police drama, all while trying to navigate being a kid with a detective for a mom. The funny thing is, we all saw her acting tough and mischievous, but maybe she was actually falling apart inside the whole time. Some fans on Reddit even noticed her speech was slurred weeks ago and were asking if it was a medical clue or just the actress's choice. It turns out those people were spot on. It was a major piece of foreshadowing that most of us missed because we were too busy focusing on her blackmail and the Joel Daring case. Did you catch those hints? It's wild to think the writers were planting these seeds for weeks while Betsy was planning her escape to London. The emotional side of this is just devastating when you really dig into it. Imagine being Betsy. You've got this secret offer that could change your life forever, but you're quietly terrified. You don't even tell your mom, DS Lisa Swain, because you're worried about how it will shake up the new family she's building with Carla. You only confide in your friend Lauren Bolton. You're sitting on this massive, life-changing secret, and then your brain literally betrays you. When she finally wakes up in that hospital bed, she finds she can't even speak properly. Can you imagine that frustration? For a girl who used her words as weapons to get whatever she wanted, being silenced is probably her worst nightmare. It's like the universe took away her only defense just when she needed it most. It makes you feel for her, doesn't it? Even if you didn't like her when she was being mischievous, you have to admit this is an incredibly cruel twist of fate. And then we have to talk about her mom, Lisa Swain. I don't know about you, but her reaction in these spoilers really rubbed me the wrong way. She's a detective, right? She's supposed to look for facts and evidence. But as soon as her daughter is in trouble, she completely loses her professional cool. She turns on Dylan in the cafe and starts screaming at him in front of everyone before heading straight to the station to report a crime. She actually gets Dylan arrested on suspicion of what happened to Betsy. Think about that for a second. Dylan was just there trying to help her with a bolognese. He's a lad who has tried so hard to do right after a really dark past involving knife crime and car theft. And now, because Lisa is grieving and scared, she's using her power as a cop to ruin his life. Do you think she's being a protective mom or just a corrupt police officer? It feels like she's looking for a villain because she can't arrest a blood clot. It's easier to blame a troubled kid like Dylan than to accept that her daughter had a medical emergency that nobody could see coming. The funny thing is, Dylan is actually pointing the finger at someone else entirely. He tells people that Brody is the real culprit. Who even is Brody? Is he part of the counterfeit scheme? Or was there something else happening in that kitchen that we didn't see? It adds this whole layer of mystery to a story that's already so heavy. And what about the street? Some fans are saying Coronation Street is becoming way too obsessed with hospitals and police stations lately. Do you agree? It feels like every storyline recently ends up with someone in a hospital gown or in handcuffs. We've already seen so much death in the last year with characters like Craig and Mason, and some viewers feel that having a third young person die would be a bit much. But that doesn't stop the rumors. Some people noticed that recent episodes ended with Betsy asleep as the credits rolled, and they think it's a sign she might be leaving for good. Let's go deeper into the psychology of all this. Why would Lisa go so far? It's probably guilt. She was so busy being a detective and trying to build a proper home with Carla that she didn't see her daughter was struggling. She missed the signs. If she can blame Dylan, then she doesn't have to blame herself. It's a classic case of displacement. She's projecting her own failure as a parent onto this poor kid. And poor Dylan. He's already devastated because Lauren told him Betsy is seriously ill and doesn't want to see him. He's lost his girlfriend and his freedom in the same day. How is he supposed to come back from that? Especially when his own dad, Sean, is left wondering what's really going on because Dylan is refusing to even visit the hospital. And we can't ignore Carla Connor in all of this. It's actually pretty beautiful how her relationship with Betsy has changed over time. She went from being blackmailed by this girl to being her biggest champion. When the news about the London College of Fashion finally came out, Carla was the one telling her to grab the opportunity with both hands. She sees the talent in Betsy. She sees a version of herself. But now, with Betsy in the hospital, Carla is stuck in the middle of a war between her fiancé and a local kid. If it turns out the counterfeit clothes from Underworld had something to do with the stroke, Carla is going to be wrecked with guilt. Imagine finding out your business practices somehow contributed to the collapse of the girl you were trying to help. The show is also giving us some other big moments next week to distract us from the tragedy. Kit drops to one knee and asks Sarah to marry him after a romantic lunch. And Cassie is being blackmailed, with Bernie telling her to tackle it head-on. Even the Winter Browns are dealing with parenting woes because Joseph is late with his homework. But honestly, all of that feels so small compared to what's happening at number 6. While Kit is proposing, Betsy is being taken for an MRI scan while a tearful Lisa waits for answers. It's that classic soap opera contrast. Joy in one house and total heartbreak in the next. So, what happens next for Betsy? That is the big question everyone is debating. Will she actually get to go to London? Or is that dream dead? A stroke recovery is a long, hard road. It's not just something you bounce back from in a week. If she loses her spot at the college because she can't physically attend, what does that do to her spirit? She might feel trapped in Weatherfield forever. Some fans on Reddit are even worried she won't survive the storyline at all. They've noticed the death flags and think the writers are setting up a devastating goodbye. I really hope they're wrong. Having a young, vibrant character like Betsy taken out like this would be so depressing, especially after everything she's been through. We also have to think about the coming-of-age storyline that Liam McShane, who plays Dylan, teased for 2026. He said it was going to be a big year for them, with a significant subject-driven plot. A teenage stroke definitely fits that description. It's a way for the show to raise awareness about a medical issue that people don't usually associate with young people. But at what cost to the characters we like? Lisa's reputation is in tatters, Dylan is in a cell, and Betsy can't even speak for herself. It's a total mess, and it's only going to get more intense as the medical results come in. What do you think is going to happen when the truth finally comes out? Do you think Dylan is 100% innocent? And should Lisa Swain lose her job for what she's doing to him? I don't know about you, but I'm worried that even if Betsy recovers, the damage to these relationships might be permanent. I want to hear your theories. Is there something we're missing about the Bolognese or this mysterious Brody guy? Maybe the stress of the mischievous life Betsy was leading was just a ticking time bomb. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're as hooked on this Swain family drama as I am, make sure you like this video and subscribe. We're going to be tracking every single update on Betsy's recovery and the fallout for Dylan and Lisa. You definitely don't want to miss what's coming next on the cobbles, because it looks like it's going to be an emotional roller coaster for the rest of the year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next deep dive. Imagine you're a teenager, and you've just been handed the golden ticket to your entire future. For Betsy Swain, that ticket was an offer from the London College of Fashion, which is basically the Olympics of the design world. She's finally found a way out of the drama on the cobbles, But instead of celebrating, she's terrified. She doesn't even tell her own mother, DS Lisa Swain, or her future stepmom, Carla Connor. She only confides in Lauren Bolton. Think about that for a second. Why would a young girl, who's finally achieved something huge, be so scared to share the news with the people who love her? Well, maybe it's because Betsy knows how fragile her new life is. She's been living on the edge since she arrived, blackmailing Carla and getting mixed up in counterfeit clothing schemes at Underworld. She's always playing a high-stakes game, and maybe she felt that telling the truth would make the dream vanish. But the tragedy is that her dream didn't vanish because of a secret. It vanished because her own body gave out. The funny thing is, we all saw her acting mischievous and sharp thinking, but we might have missed the actual physical toll it was taking on her. Did you notice anything off about her speech lately? Some eagle-eyed fans on Reddit actually pointed out weeks ago that her speech sounded slurred. At the time, people weren't sure if it was just the actress, Sydney Martin, making a choice for the character or if it was the start of a massive medical storyline. Well, now we know the truth.
It was a huge piece of foreshadowing.
Betsy was walking around with a ticking time bomb in her head while she was busy trying to figure out how to tell Dylan Wilson she was moving to London. It makes you wonder, if someone had noticed sooner, could they have stopped what happened next? It all comes to a head in the most domestic, normal way possible. Betsy is at number 6, and she's trying to cook breakfast, but it goes totally wrong. She asks Dylan for some cooking tips, and they have this really sweet, quiet moment where he shows her how to whip up a bolognese. They're even talking about how they're going to make their long-distance relationship work once she goes to college. It's the kind of scene that makes your heart ache, because you know it's coming. Just as they're finding a bit of happiness, the nightmare begins. Ryan walks in and finds Betsy unconscious on the kitchen floor. It's a total panic. An ambulance is called, and suddenly, the chef of the day is watching his girlfriend being rushed to the hospital while everyone else is left terrified. Now, think about the pressure on DS Lisa Swain in that moment. She's a detective who spends her life finding people to blame, and now her own daughter is in an MRI machine. She's standing there, struggling to hold back tears, waiting for answers that no one wants to give. When the doctors finally reveal that it's a teenage stroke, Lisa's first instinct isn't just grief, it's fury. She needs a villain. And unfortunately for Dylan, he's the easiest target in the room. Have you ever been so angry and scared that you just started lashing out at the person closest to you? That's exactly what Lisa does. She turns on Dylan in the cafe, screaming at him and blaming him for the collapse. It's a complete misuse of her power as a police officer, especially since she goes straight to the station to report a crime. Dylan is soon arrested on suspicion of whatever happened to Betsy. It's honestly heartbreaking to watch. This is a lad who has spent years trying to move past a history of knife crime and car theft. He's finally trying to do right, and he's the one who was actually there helping her when she collapsed. But in Lisa's eyes, his past makes him guilty. It's a classic case of a cop having tunnel vision because the victim is her own flesh and blood. Do you think Lisa is being a protective mother here, or is she being a corrupt cop by arresting a kid without any real proof? It feels like she's trying to arrest a medical condition, and since she can't put a stroke in handcuffs, she's putting Dylan in them instead. The drama gets even more complicated when Betsy finally wakes up. She finds it incredibly difficult to speak, which is a common symptom of a stroke, but she manages to plead with her mom not to blame Dylan. But Lisa is already too far gone. She's already made the report. Imagine waking up from a life-altering medical event and finding out your mom has arrested your boyfriend for it. Betsy is described as being horrified when she hears the news. It's a complete betrayal of trust. And while Dylan is sitting in a cell, he's convinced that someone named Brody is the real culprit. Who is Brody? Is he connected to the counterfeit scheme Betsy was involved in? Or is Dylan just desperate to find someone else to blame so the heat stays off him? The fans on social media are absolutely buzzing about this, and the theories are getting pretty dark. Some people on Reddit are convinced that Betsy is actually going to die. They've noticed that recent episodes have ended with her asleep as the credits start to roll, and they think that's a classic soap opera omen for a permanent goodbye. Other fans are more hopeful, saying that having a third young character die in a year, after Craig and Mason, would just be way too much for the audience to handle. Some think she might even need a transplant and that her mother's late wife, Becky, might return and redeem herself by saving Betsy. What do you think? Does this feel like an exit storyline for Sydney Martin, or is this just a very intense coming-of-age arc for the character? The emotional stakes for Carla Connor are also sky-high. Remember, Betsy started her time on the street by blackmailing Carla. Most people would hold a grudge, but Carla has become one of Betsy's biggest champions. She's the one who encouraged Betsy to grab the fashion college opportunity with both hands. She sees the grit and the talent in her. To see that same girl now fighting for her life in a hospital bed must be devastating for Carla. It shows how much their relationship has evolved from enemies to a real family dynamic. But if Lisa continues to target Dylan, it's going to put a massive strain on the new home Lisa and Carla have built together. While all of this life and death drama is happening, the rest of the street is still moving. Kit is planning to propose to Sarah after a romantic lunch. Cassie is being blackmailed and Bernie is telling her to fight back. Even the Winter Browns are dealing with school reports and homework woes. It's such a strange contrast, isn't it? One family is picking out engagement rings while another is waiting outside an MRI room. It really highlights how quickly life can change on the cobbles. One minute you're a mischievous teen with a bright future in London, and the next, you're the center of a police investigation and a medical crisis. What do you think is the real cause of the stroke? Was it just the pure stress of a life Betsy was leading? Or is there something more sinister going on with this Brody person Dylan mentioned? Some viewers think the show is getting a bit obsessed with hospitals and police stations lately, but you can't deny that this story is gripping. It forces us to look at the pressure we put on young people and how quickly a dream can turn into a nightmare. I want to hear your take on this. Should Betsy have told her mom about the London offer sooner? Or was she right to keep it a secret? And what about Dylan? Do you think his past record makes it fair for the police to be suspicious? Or is he being completely framed by a grieving mother? Let's get a conversation going in the comments. This is one of those storylines that really divides the fans, and I want to know whose side you're on. If you want to stay updated on every single spoiler and theory about Betsy's recovery, make sure you like this video and subscribe. We're going to be following this teenage stroke storyline very closely, so ring that bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into the Swain family drama. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back on the street very soon. The drama gets even more complicated when Betsy finally wakes up. She finds it incredibly difficult to speak, which is a common symptom of a stroke, but she manages to plead with her mom not to blame Dylan. But Lisa is already too far gone. She's already made the report. Imagine waking up from a life-altering medical event and finding out your mom has arrested your boyfriend for it. Betsy is described as being horrified when she hears the news. It's a complete betrayal of trust. And while Dylan is sitting in a cell, he's convinced that someone named Brody is the real culprit. Who is Brody? Is he connected to the counterfeit scheme Betsy was involved in? Or is Dylan just desperate to find someone else to blame so the heat stays off him? The fans on social media are absolutely buzzing about this, and the theories are getting pretty dark. Some people on Reddit are convinced that Betsy is actually going to die. They've noticed that recent episodes have ended with her asleep as the credits start to roll, and they think that's a classic soap opera omen for a permanent goodbye. Other fans are more hopeful, saying that having a third young character die in a year, after Craig and Mason, would just be way too much for the audience to handle. Some think she might even need a transplant and that her mother's late wife, Becky, might return and redeem herself by saving Betsy. What do you think?